afternoon, depending on what side of the equator you're on. We've got a good healthy amount already in the door. Um, so I'll just go through the usual operations. Just use the raise hand function, and we'll call you out in turn to speak to each of the guys. All of the content is for immediate use, but if anybody wants to have anything to use under embargo, just hold on to the end of the interview session, and you can ask your questions then, and we'll agree that those responses are under the embargo that you're looking for. And we're just going to kick off with a quick couple of questions from our end for the guys, just about some of the rugby that's already gone on in the summer, and give you guys a chance to use the raise hand function, etc. So and then also we'll provide a recording of this afterwards as well. So if you're recording yourself, or if you misplaced it or anything like that, we will have your back for that. So there we go. So with us today, guys, we have Schalk Brits, Ryan Wilson, and Darren Cave, who you will see across your TV screens and promoting various things around rugby over the course of the season in the UK, Ireland, South Africa. And we're just going to kick it off, guys, and just Scala, just if I'd ask you how you guys have got on from a South African perspective in the Rugby Championship, and if there's any players in particular who you're looking forward to seeing this season in the URC off the back of their appearances for the Box.
Look, it has been a very interesting rugby championship. I mean, South Africa losing against Australia, where everybody was thinking we will give, after 22-5 up, giving them a bashing. Things that didn't turn out. We lost that. Second game we won. Then first game against New Zealand in Auckland, lost that, and then unbelievable second half performance. Guys that really stood out. Well, it's hard because Russians keep on rotating the whole squad to create depth, and as South African fans, people in South Africa, even after a loss against New Zealand, our first loss, people said, "Well, he's had his time. We need a new coach." And then going the next week and giving the All Blacks a bit of a bashing. I think guys that's very exciting is Sasha has been playing well. Damien on 12 has been amazing. If you take the likes of Sia getting back, Kobus Reinach now going to the Stormers, what a great signing. Andre Pollard leaving Premiership and coming to the URC, to the Bulls. It's a very exciting group of players that's coming back to South Africa, and players playing in different positions. So the Rugby Championship has been very exciting. I mean, everybody's won two, lost two, and it's the last leg of the Rugby Championship.
Great stuff. And KV, from the British and Irish perspective, in terms of watching the Lions, who kind of stood out for you in terms of the guys based across Scotland, Ireland, and Wales?
Suppose don't want to bore everyone talking. Well, I don't want to bore. I don't even want to bore myself talking about Leinster. I think from Ireland, the one who was probably stood out the most above what was expected was Joe McCarthy in the second row. But to give a sort of, this was a more interesting answer, I was really impressed with the Scottish midfielders, and I include Finn Russell in that. I had a bit of a question mark about how much like the Lions would trust him and how much he could deliver, not in terms of like the special moments. I think everyone always knew he had those special moments in, but could he steer the Lions as the leader from number 10 with the elements? And I think he did that really, really well. I'm a huge fan of the Irish midfielders as in the centres. So I think it was hard not, as an Irish fan and pundit who was expecting like Aki and Ringrose to really dominate that, it was hard not to be impressed with Tui Pilatu and Hugh Jones. So I think in particular, those midfielders, obviously they've been instrumental, and they've been big in the URC for a number of years. So I don't think we're going to see anything new, but I think just off the back of that tour, that was a combination that it was a joy to watch. They were outstanding, and I think the Glasgow fans should be very, very excited about that.
Stuff. And just a quick reminder, guys, just before I go to Ryan, just if you want to use the raise hand function, then we can start calling out. We can start calling out everyone in turn to get their questions in. Ryan, you were down in Australia. Just can you share your disappointment of not being called up by Andy Farrell at a late point in time?
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed. Obviously, all eyes were on the Legends series that I played in. I know that there wasn't too many people watching the third test. They were more worried about what was going to happen in Sydney with the likes of me playing, Andy Powell coaching because he injured himself so early on. But now it was a good old trip down there. I was amazed at how many fans. It was the first time I'd ever been on a Lions tour, and it was incredible to go down there, see how many fans were down there. I know that it did a fair bit of help for the Australian Rugby Union in terms of the rugby economy over there. But an awesome series, even with it, potentially being a dead rubber in the last game. But it had a bit of everything, didn't it? From the lightning delay, which did aid me a little bit in the hospitality. It gave me a few extra minutes in the bar with a few good fellows. But it was an awesome trip, and like you said, some of those standout boys. I've heard Tyke Burns, another one. I thought he didn't play particularly well in the warm up games, and it was a weird one. Everyone had sort of written him off, and then he turns up and does the job. Player of the tournament. So Ty Burn for me was someone that stood out massively, and by all accounts, I've heard he's pretty good off the field as well, which always goes down pretty well in my books.
And then just
Ron, was there? Sorry, Ron, was there a lot of unhappiness and whinging after the second test match with that decision right at the end on the clean out?
Jeremy Paul. Have you ever come across Jeremy Paul, Sculler?
I played against him.
Oh my goodness! No, we did a couple of events with him, and I put him in the same bracket as Mike Phillips. Likes to talk himself up a fair bit, and it was we did an event, and he wouldn't stop harping on about that decision. But there were a few upset Aussies, and you could see how angry they were in the third test. But like even that game, the second test was such a good one. The way it was played, you thought it was dead and done. And of course, the Glasgow Warriors special centre and Hugh Jones that reignited that, got that first try, and back they came. So Cavey's already mentioned how well he played. I mean, for someone that wasn't even meant to play the second test, he actually got dropped for the second test. Came in because of the head injury to, was it Ringrose?
Ringrose.
That he then came in, obviously started that second test, played so well again, and tore up in the third one. So yeah, it was an interesting one. I was a bit worried about the third test in Sydney because of everything that happened. You want it to be a bit more competitive, don't you? 1-1 going into the last one. But yeah, the Aussies turned up, didn't they? And there's a fair few boys in there that I'm looking forward to seeing in the URC. I'll tell you another player that I can't wait is Angus Bell. I reckon one of the best props in the loose at the moment, and signing for Ulster, to have him over in the URC is going to be pretty exciting to see him throwing it about. He's a good boy as well.
Stuff. And before we throw to Mubin, Ryan, actually just the point on Scotland as well. Good health metric in terms of the last couple of years, not just Glasgow, but actually the number of players picked in the Lions squad and those getting test minutes as well. Where is Scottish rugby right now? And
I don't know if I don't know if there was an "and" there, Adam. All I heard was where is
yeah,
Scott
sorry,
now?
just where you think that leaves Scottish rugby as a health metric going into the new season?
I think it was important to get the whole Gregor Townsend and Franco Smith saga over and done with as quick as possible, because there was a lot of chat around that. There's been different takes on Gregor Townsend's tenor, and is he the right man to carry on the job? I personally think, why change it? He knows them inside out. He knows those players. It's he's got a pretty good test record with them, and they've got a big autumn series coming up. So it was really important for Gregor to make sure he put pen to paper with Scotland, and then straight afterwards you obviously get the news of Franco Smith, which is a massive thing for the SRU to keep hold of someone like Franco Smith with the way that he's been since he's coming to Glasgow Warriors. Sean Everett, on the other hand, is there. Edinburgh, for me, this season, it's a big season for them. They've got to do well. They've actually got Zebre first up, which last season was their bogey team. They lost to them at home and only scraped a draw away. So that would be the last game if I was an Edinburgh player that I'd want first up. Would be Zebra away. But in terms of Scottish rugby, yeah, you know, you've said it there already, Adam. The fact that we had so many British and Irish Lions, we'll see. I don't actually think we'll see many of them in the first few rounds of the URC, but they'll start to come back. Darcy Graham obviously managing to get a little bit of involvement and then getting injured again. But even the likes of Scott Cummins, you know, he went over on the tour. What he'll gain from just being over there will be brilliant. So yeah, I think it bolsters Scottish rugby quite a bit.
Great stuff. Right, Mubin, over to you. And then anyone who else wants to ask questions, just use the raise hand function. Cheers.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Just question for Schalky. Schalky, just from a South African point of view, you're obviously a former Bulls player and former Stormers player. Just like to have your thoughts on how do you feel the Bulls will do this season under Johan Ackermann? They've obviously made 3 finals under Jake, but it's a new coach now. Just how do you feel they will do this season? And then also on the Stormers part as well, you know, the Stormers are in a new era now. They've got a new logo, new sponsor. Just how do you feel they will do after the last 2 seasons of battling a little bit just to make it quarterfinals? But yeah, so just your thoughts on both franchises. Thanks.
Mubin, if I can ask you, what do you think about the new logo? New season, new logo.
From my point of view, I think the new logo looks very similar to the Super Rugby Pacific logo.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that, but I like the Adidas jersey. That looks quite cool.
Yeah, just because there's a bit of, I think there's a lot of supporters extremely upset. Let's start with Aki's. The things that I've heard within the group was definitely that there was the synergies between the coaching staff and players was unhappiness, or there was not unhappiness. Let me rather say there was disagreement on the way going forward. And the team that he took over when he became coach has matured. They were extremely unlucky with a lot of like Hanekom getting in, or there was a lot of boys not being able to play in the final because of injury or Kirtley going abroad. I think we definitely missed that in the final. World-class players do make a difference in the big matches. With Aki's, from what I've heard so far, the boys are putting the effort in. They work incredibly hard. But what is great from that perspective is he is bringing the game, the boys together. So even they push them extremely hard, there is a fun element of it as well, because from a force perspective, you would know that you work incredibly hard, and the fun thing is at the end, when you're supposed to do a morning session, the same as Rassie, you would just put a crate of beers down, and as a group you sit together and have a braai or barbecue, as our UK colleagues will know, and just get together. So, and the signings they've made has been phenomenal. I think with Andre coming back, some bolstering the forwards, Jan Serfontein coming back, that is very, very exciting. That's some experience coming back with a very exciting young crew. From a Stormers perspective, I mean, we've lost Marnie, and people underrate how good he is. But I think if the forwards from a Stormers perspective can actually lay the foundation with the backline that they can pick, it's going to be very exciting. The question that I've got is the Bulls got the depth. The Stormers don't have the depth, but they need their big names will play international rugby, and how much of that will be rested. Like this weekend, Stormers, Leinster. I mean, although it's Leinster lost, not picking a lot of Lions players, it's still a great squad. They're 3 deep, almost like the Springboks. They've got an unbelievable, probably the best squad in the league, and probably the favourites. Well, they will be the favourites. So hopefully the Stormers can have a bit more consistency, but there is great talent.
Yeah, and just to follow up to that last question, just from both franchises, who do you feel the players in terms of, basically on Adam's question, who do you think the players from Stormers and the Bulls, which players will stand out this season? Could you just give us your thoughts on that? Thanks.
I think for me, I can't go past Hanekom. He is going to be the catalyst from the Bulls' perspective. Andre taking ownership. I think he'll be rested with Goosen getting a bit of a rest, with Goosen getting injured. So I do think it's vital to keep Andre on the pitch as well, especially the big matches. Once again, from the forwards, I'm going to say with the Stormers, for me, is Roos is going to play a vital game because he's now becoming mature. He's still got a point to prove to push for that number 8 shirt. So he'll leading from that perspective. And then you get Sasha. Sasha is a great talent, but can he be consistent in his approach as fly off? I think they were swapping around a lot. Will Damien play 12 or 15? I don't know. I think now for this coming season he'll play more 12. But that is sort of the Dame and Sasha combo is going to be mean if they pick them at 10 and 12. The one team, I know that this wasn't the question, but the one team that has underperformed for me in South African terms has been the Sharks. They've got probably on comparison the best squad in South Africa with the names, but they just somehow hasn't lived up to the potential. And so hopefully with a bit of I don't know, changes and reassessing a couple of things, Plum will get those guys to work together and actually be great. Because statistically, the Bulls has been phenomenal last season, although they got hammered by Leinster in the final. That's a team I hope that will play to their potential. The Lions, with all honesty, I know the question wasn't asked, but the Lions will be the feeding ground for the younger players to come through. They tour badly, but they will be exciting at home. They play a great style of rugby.
Baie dankie Schalkie, ek waardeer. Thank you very much, Adam.
No problem. Moving over to Stephen Nell next. And again, guys, just if you want to get the hands up, just so I can call you out for your questions. So Simon and Graham, just use that when you want to say something. Over to you, Stephen.
Thank you very much. Hi, guys. Scott, excuse me. Getting back to the Stormers, I'd like to know just your thoughts on them bringing in guys like Ntunu and Ackerman. Do you think that it could give them maybe a little bit of steel up front? Because there was a little, one sometimes sort of got the impression that there's maybe, a little bit of toughness lacking there. Do you think those signings will help?
Stephen, of course, I think if you can sign the right people and the people that they have brought into the squad and young guys coming through like Riley Norton, that will boost the competition from the young guys and senior guys. A guy like Dion having a massive input in the squad. The one thing, and we've always known from the Stormers, they've got an unbelievable talented squad. And sometimes you wonder from a force perspective, let's say backs extremely talented, give them the ball, they'll do their magic. But the one thing that we do need, unfortunately, because it's north-south, it is when you go abroad and you play in the northern hemisphere, the conditions different. You can't play the same style. So then you have to rely a lot more heavily on the forwards and make sure their set piece dominance. With France getting injured, didn't feel like they can compete or dominate in the scrums. With Wilco going there next year, that will make a big difference. But the one thing Dobbo has come to the realization, I think, is you need a great pack to compete in this competition because of north, south, summer, winter. It changes during the whole 8-month season.
And then just touching on what you just said earlier about depth. Obviously, the Stormers have lost quite a lot of players, and they are quite prudent in terms of their spending. Do you think that injuries, them being lucky and not getting a lot of injuries, could that play a part in whether their campaign will be successful or not?
Yeah, 100%. Unfortunately, injuries are part and parcel of the game, and that's why you need depth. I think the Bulls and the Sharks has got a lot of financial backing, I would say, and I think with Johan getting more involved with the private equity side, getting involved, there should be more cash. available to spend and bolster your group. I know there's limitation on how much you can spend, but definitely, I think the one thing is we always rely on Cape Town. As a Cape Townian, we rely on the youngsters coming through and expect them to gain an experience. But at some stage, you have to, unfortunately, bring in senior guys that has been around. And Quib is a great signing, but you need, they signed Volker now, but you need guys like that. You need a RG, you need a Yeben, you need a Luitz, you need guys that has been there, done that, because in the tough games, they can actually stabilize the ship. And even when they don't play, help the younger guys understand what happens in tough matches. And I think that's a great thing about having a balanced squad. And sometimes I feel the balance wasn't always achieved with the Stormers.
Well, thanks very much.
Okay, thanks, Stephen. Graham, over to you next.
Hi, guys. I wonder if I could ask Ryan a question. How you doing, Ryan?
All good, Graham. All good.
Good. Just what you touched on earlier about Edinburgh. I mean, we were down there yesterday, a few of us talking to Sean Everett, and he's talking about top four aspirations, and Ben Vellacott was saying similar last week. I just wondered, do you think that's realistic? Could you see Edinburgh challenging this season for a top four position?
For me, it's a difficult one with Edinburgh, because the way that they ended up just having to scrape it to get in the top 8 was, you looked at that. I think they've got the squad. They've definitely got the squad. They just need to find some consistency. They didn't really have that last season, and it was up and down. And it's trying to keep people like Darcy Graham fit, when he's on form and he's playing there. But they have lost a fair bit of experience as well. You look at Ali Price, Jamie Ritchie, moving out of there. So that's what I said earlier. It's a big season for Edinburgh, because top 4 should be their target. Dare I say, I would be saying to them, listen, try and make sure you guarantee yourself a top 8. I always get in trouble for obviously putting Edinburgh down slightly more than Glasgow, but Glasgow talk the talk and then they go and walk the walk. Last season they were disappointed with how they finished their season off, but throughout the season they were pretty consistent. Edinburgh need to make sure they get their away stuff right. We always talk about the Benettons, right, and say that they need to find a bit of form on the road. Edinburgh have definitely got the squad they can, to do it. They've got the infrastructure. There's no excuses there. They've pretty much got exactly what Glasgow Warriors have, maybe more. So there's a big focus at the moment with Scottish rugby and trying to bring young guys through, and that's another important thing. And then they've changed their captain up, so there's a bit of change there. It was Vellacott and Gilchrist last year, and they've gone with Magnus Bradbury. Maggie's a great character, like genuinely brilliant bloke on and off the field. But he's the sort of bloke that leads by example, and that's what they need, someone that's going to go and do the dirty work and go after it. So he'll bring a bit of steel. But yeah, top four for me, it'll be tough for Edinburgh, because you look at the other teams. We've already heard Sculler talking about the likes of the South Africans and how they've bolstered up with the Bulls. Like, I can see the Bulls making it to another final this year. They've really strengthened up. Have Edinburgh done enough? We'll see. But like I said, their first 4 games aren't easy. I think they've got Zebre. Am I right in saying they've got
Ulster? It's the second one, I think. Ulster home.
And they played 3 South African teams. They've got a tough beginning 4 games. And for me, if they don't get those right, then suddenly they're in a bit of trouble. So yeah, it's a big first month for Edinburgh rugby.
Cheers. And for Glasgow as well. I mean, they've lost a few big guns as well, haven't they? Some real experienced players have moved on, but there seems to be a really good crop of young guys just kind of bubbling under at Glasgow. You must have seen a few of them, and they've looked good in the 2 pre-season games, haven't they?
Yeah, and again, this is why I think it was so important to keep Franco Smith about, because as much as he uses those players that he had, you mentioned the likes of someone they brought in, Henko Venter, who for me was outstanding coming in over the last couple of years. But you're obviously losing him, losing Sebastian Cancelliere, who was one of the standout performers every season. And then Tom Jordan's a big name that everyone's talking about heading off to Bristol. So he's tried to do a bit on that front and bringing Dan Lancaster over from Racing. So that'll be an interesting story when he goes up against his old man who's at Connacht now. But yeah, Franco is good at bringing the young guys in. So I read something the URC had put out the other day around Ben Afshar, the young nine. Glasgow always blessed with good nines in terms of Jamie Doby and George Horn. But one thing he does do is gives opportunities out to these young guys. Another one to watch out for, Kerr Yule, who I think we'll probably see involved in the centres, came through the 20s stuff. So yeah, he'll try and mix that as much as possible. As we all know, Hugh Jones is out with having to get an operation since he's been back from the Lions tour. And I don't know when we'll see Sione Tuipulotu. So there's a couple of young centres and young backs that will get opportunities. So yeah, exciting for Glasgow, and you'll see some of the young guys come through.
Great. Thanks, Ryan. All the best. Cheers.
Thanks, Graham. Just think there's no other hands up at the moment. Is there anyone else who wants to put in any more questions?
Can I shoot, Adam?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
I'd like the take of the guys on the emergence of the hybrid player. It's like like on Andre Estes and for example, playing both centre and then being used as a loose forward as well. It'd be very interesting to hear what the guys think about that.
Ron, do you want to go first?
No, I think this was aimed at Cavesy because he called himself a hybrid player. I'm pretty sure most of the time.
I suppose I should say something, shouldn't we? I'm a little on the fence about it, to be honest with you. I feel like in rugby and in life sometimes we're just so excited by the idea of something that is new. And I think like Rassie's the best example of it. Sometimes I think why are you chasing for these new super wacky ideas when you've actually got the best players in the world? If you just play normally, you'd probably beat near pretty much anyone every way. So I suppose, do I see a benefit to it? Yes, I think there's no doubt that in rugby at the minute, this shift towards heavily loading like your bench with forwards and the ability to change a game. We've seen the Box do it so successfully. France again in the Six Nations, less specific to the URC, they were dumping empty in the bench and they were actually winning games in the like 40 to 60 minute mark. They were dumping all these forwards on, taking control of the games, and then when the other teams went to empty their bench in that 55 to 65 minute window, the game was gone. So I don't think it's something that's like really going to revolutionize rugby. But and if I was a player, I'd be a little hesitant about trying to put my hand up, just knowing from how it works in training forwards and backs. I think it'd be very, very difficult to be an absolute world-class forward and back, which is obviously your goal as a player. If I was a coach, would I see benefit in having like a massive centre who could clearly pack down on the flank for 20 minutes and change a game, or vice versa, a really agile back rower who could line up in the centre? As a coach, I would see that as a massive value add, because it does enable you to do something crazy on the bench, and it does just give you that sort of joker in the card that if things aren't going your way 42 minutes into the game, you can just go bump and chuck five big men onto a pitch. I just don't feel like rugby's in a place where you can change a centre, a winger, and a fullback, and it's going to really change the game. So I think that kind of half answers your question. Sometimes I think these concepts are gimmicky. I don't think it's going to revolutionize rugby, but if I was a coach, I think it would be a nice sort of string to your bow to have.
Scully, you pretty much played in the backs, didn't you, when you played?
I was just too scared to be in the forwards, Ryan. I think what is amazing with the viewpoint from, let's take one step back, is the way Rassie looks at the game, and sort of maybe it's different in other teams, but as a prop, you just want to scrum more and know exactly your role. And I think what has changed is, from his perspective, is everyone needs to know every role. within the group. The prop needs to know what the winger does. He can't tell him what to do, but he has to know. Now, from Russ's perspective, there is some players that can be hybrids. Hybrids in a way of playing hooker and playing flanker, block playing flanker, or winger playing scrum off, a centre playing loose forward, Damien playing covering 15, 12, and 10. So with the viewpoint that there was so much pressure on a bomb squad from certain individuals that was very unhappy with the way we used it, or the Springboks used it. And then secondly, this is not what it was intended to do. And so I think Rusty's sort of playing with their minds on one part, and the other part saying, look, you can do whatever you like, but I'm going to pick players that can play multiple positions, irrelevant of how you change the rules. This is a way I'm actually selecting athletes. Where back in the day it was just big boys that can only play one position. And so from that perspective, Stephen, he wants people to understand every role in the team, irrelevant what numbers in her back, and then he wants flexibility to deploy as he sees fit. So he sees it as a chess game, and he wants his bishop or his horse to play multiple roles.
For me, just on it, I don't know whether it's a South African thing, but Franco Smith, again, is someone that loves it. You've got Stafford McDowell out and out 12, 13, who he puts into the lineout. Because he's such a big bloke and he knows he can go up in the lineout, they started using him in lineouts, which I love all the innovation around that sort of stuff. I think it's great for the game, change it up. And again, another player that you see, you mentioned it there, Sculler, but like if you can have a 9 like Jamie Dobie, who it was an out-and-out scrum half, but can equally do such a good job on the wing. Suddenly, you bolster your squad by being able to play multiple positions. You know, Tom Jordan again was someone that could play a bit of everything. I love it. And then we've mentioned a few of them already today. The likes of Nkunu and Angus Bell. Those boys wouldn't look out of place in the back row. Like Angus Bell actually started his career at number 8, and then sadly for him had to move up to the front of the scrum. But I think as much as you can of this sort of stuff, moving guys around, giving opportunities. Everyone looks at the rugby league as such a good product. You want to try and get as many athletes out in that field. It excites me, but I do like the innovation from you boys over there, Sculler. I think it shakes things up a bit, and it creates a lot of conversation, which is what we want to do.
Yeah, to jump in on Ryan, sorry to interrupt you, Sculler. That's something I definitely agree with. Like, I think anything that's not traditional in rugby 100% should be encouraged. Like every time Rassie speaks, I want to hear it. It's so entertaining. And yeah, totally. There'll be a day where there's 8 forwards on the bench and all this crazy stuff. It's just brilliant because it's different. So from that angle, like as a fan and someone who just wants to be interested in the game, I think it's so fascinating.
Like Stephen, if you take, sorry, I don't know how much of you watched the last Test match, All Black South Africa. I think within the first 10 minutes or 20 minutes, we had 4 crucial injuries in our squad. And if you couldn't then play Grant Williams at wing and have guys understanding multiple roles, multiple positions, then we would have gotten slaughtered. And so that is the benefit. If things go haywire, there is a plan B, and guys do understand multiple roles and do it to their ability.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Questions, Stephen. Thanks very much. Simon, over to you.
If I could just ask the guys like a 2-part question. If I was to ask you to predict who will be the URC player of the season and who will be the URC title winners right now, who would you each go for? Maybe Ryan first.
Oh, why do I have to go first? Oh, that is a tough one. URC title winners right now. I always back Glasgow Warriors, so I'll go something slightly different. I think the Bulls could do it this year. I think with the change up in coach, I think they need to make sure that final's back at home. I know it didn't work out for those boys a couple of years ago, but if they can find a way to really kick on from what they've done over the last 3 years, surely they've got to make it to a final. And like you said, if they did have players like Hanekom Wilco Lowe. Sorry, who was the other back rower that was injured with the bad MCL? Elric. If they had players like that, you could have been a different story. So I'll give you that. The Bulls potentially for winning the URC this season, and then player of the season. Player of the season. Let's. Do you know what?
It always goes to the backs. Give us as forwards a bit of a go, because it's all the pretty boys in the backline that gets these.
Okay.
Players.
All right. I've talked him up. But genuinely, I think he is one of the best loosies out there. Angus Bell or Sione Tuipulotu.
Thank you.
Go on, boys. You'll go.
Darren.
I'll go then. Simon, it always pains me at this time of year, because for the last 3 or 4 years it's been the same, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. I just think that across the season, I just don't see Leinster losing enough games to not carry home advantage into the knockouts. And I just think, listen, they're totally beatable, but I would always make Leinster favourites at home. Therefore, if you were saying gun to my head, I would say the most likely series of events is that Leinster get a home final and that somebody has to come to Dublin and win, which can be done, and it has been done. But that's my unfortunate answer, with a little asterisk, just to say, like, post-Lions seasons are tricky. Very, very disruptive, a big come down, and those players in Ireland are very well managed. They won't be long back playing, and they'll be away in November, and there's a lot of Champions Cup pressure on Leinster, but I still think their squad's so big. To pick a player of the season, I think RG Snyman's a guy who's going to be in that conversation, even though he'll be away a bit. I just think he just adds so much value to them. They've got so much value to money in how much he's played. And I think that'll continue to happen. I don't think it necessarily player of the season, but obviously it's exciting to see Rico Ioane coming. To give an answer that is not related to Leinster, which I'm delighted to do, I'm a big fan of Menoncello at Benetton. So, fingers crossed.
Ulster has done a great job of bringing talent or getting the right guys. Then you've got, if you take now, what is it? I thought they're going to build from a young group, but they've actually brought in some very interesting players. And then Connacht as well. I mean, new coach.
So you saying Connacht then, Schalk?
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Like Simon, I didn't mention them there because I don't think they're going to win the URC, but 100% Connacht are a team to watch. I feel super strongly about that. They're like off the pitch. Like they got their stadium rights last year. They've had a new stadium in construction. They've got a new training facility, a new corporate hospitality. Stuart Lancaster is going to blow that place out of the water. When you look through their squad, I was looking earlier, they have a number of quality players below the age of 30. The Murray brothers, Oisin Dowling. So I 100% agree. I don't think they're going to win the URC, but Connacht are going to cause problems this year. I feel very strongly about that.
Because they've got a great coach. They're not going to lose so many players during the Six Nations or the international windows. So they're going to build a great squad during the season. Because unfortunately, you do lose a lot of internationals during those windows. They can't play, or play too much rather. And you have to rotate like in the big squads.
But if you're going for one title winner, Schalk?
Yeah, come on, Schalk.
So for me personally, I think in South Africa, Leinster's got the best squad. The one with a new coach at the Bulls, I think Aki's is unbelievable how he brings the group together. They've got the experience. They've got some great players that's coming in, old guys that was Bulls players like Jan Serfontein and Andre Pollard, and they've Jan Hendrik as another hooker. So for me personally, I think I would love to see, and I've loved seeing this every year, a different winner. And so for once, I mean, 3 finals, losing on all 3, hopefully they'll bring it back home, or bring it home. I would say not back home, but bring it home. And a guy for me that is actually the heart of the Bulls group is Ulrich and Hanekom. Both of them is like they lead by example. They don't talk much. So I hope Ford will win the player of the season, but a guy that is just crazy every time I see him, and he's got the audacity to be so self-confident, Sasha. Like even on international level when he came in, he just gives, not that he doesn't give a rat's ass what happens, but he just backs him so much that he always tries the impossible, and people are getting absolutely pulling their hair out of their head for he shouldn't play that kind of style of rugby. He just backs himself the whole time. So Sasha is an unbelievable talent. Where I think Mane is a talent, but Sasha's just got an all-round game to do it all. From defense, like the way he tackles is like almost like Wilco back in the day. He comes in hard, but he can step, he can sidestep, he does the crazy stuff. He's unpredictable. And we need a little bit of that in I think in our teams, especially the boxer as well.
Scott, just on that point, that's a great point. I think it'd be awesome to see the Bulls win, just so there's 5 different champions throughout 5 different years. Like it would show the spread of the tournament. So yeah, I'm now pushing for that even harder.
Ron, for me personally, I think the URC is an unbelievable competition. You've got the top guys always competing. What I do hope from the URC is the Welsh teams being more competitive over longer periods. The bottom teams competing more. And saying that, like the Lions, they played four great games, I think, in the beginning of last season. When they toured, the wheels fell off. For me, this is a truly unbelievable competition. We just need to get the competitiveness up through the whole group to make it a better competition. Because it's great at the top. There is amazing games, but you want, like the local derbies I watched the Irish boys smash the living crap out of each other. I look the South African boys, it's everything is personal, I think, with the Scottish guys as well, but it's across the board. When there is Zebra playing the Stormers, you want more people there. Zebra sorts, I shouldn't probably focus on particular teams, but across the board, you want a stronger competition. By a stronger competition, you want there to be more better from the bottom end of the league, I would say.
Thanks for giving the Welsh teams a plug, Schalk. Much appreciated.
Yeah, for me, it's and I think, Simon, it is Welsh rugby, in my viewpoint, watching as a little kid and watching the Barbarians and great guys coming through, they're so passionate about a game that is in their veins and playing with them. And it's, for me, we need a strong, like we've always said, we need a strong Welsh side as well. It's for years the talent is coming through, and for the growth of Welsh rugby, it's important to have great Welsh teams. And so hopefully from the top to the bottom, I'm not talking about teams, but from management, they can develop the players, because there's no lack of talent there. It's just administrative. If that thing's, well, I'm talking out of turn here, but hopefully they can sort their things out, because it's a nation that is so proud and should be, yeah.
We just have to wait and see how many Welsh teams we've got first.
Yeah. Can you give us any inside info, Simon?
I think the 2-team plan is dead in the water, so they'll have to come up with something else. So I think ultimately we'll end up with either 3 or 4, but in either case probably with 2-tier funding. But I'll be honest with you, it changes every day.
Okay.
So watch this space. Thanks a lot, guys. Much appreciate that.
Cheers.
Thanks, Simon.
Okay, guys. Just before I let anybody, we've got 1 or 2 from our URC social team who are going to talk to the guys. Is there anybody else? Just
Matthew.
From
Adam, you first,
outside?
Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew's in our group, Scala. So
okay.
So is there anybody else there who wants to get any more questions in with the guys?
I was just going to ask Ryan if he's got any new interview tactics for this season.
Well, Simon, believe it or not, they've given us, myself and John Barclay, our own show on Friday night. So there is no presenter this Friday night. Glasgow versus Sharks. Myself and John Barclay are running the show by ourselves. So expect complete and utter chaos and carnage. I did say to Premier Sports that is going to be some absolute madness. And they said that's exactly what we want. So, yeah, if you want a good laugh, tune in Friday night. We've had all of 10 minutes prep to learn how to be presenters, so it could be interesting. And I know that it's myself and Barks, and then we've not got much help because we've got Shanks and Andy Good, who's now on the URC coverage. So I can't imagine they'll be wanting us to do too well. Shanks trying to mess us up whilst we're trying to do like promo readouts and stuff. It's going to be hilarious.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. Exactly.
Good luck with that.
Yes.
Brilliant stuff.
Adam,
thanks, guys.
could I quickly ask Schalk something, please?
Go for it, Stephen.
Yeah, Scully, you spoke about Sasha just now. The Stormers with Sasha and the Stormers without Sasha, are those two, very different teams in a way? Because, obviously Sasha's got this ability to elevate the team. So how do you think the Stormers will build their game around Sasha? And then how do you think it will go when he's not there?
Stephen, I think unfortunately a guy like Sasha is, I wouldn't say 1 in a million, but he is extremely special. And unfortunately, if you take a guy like him away, it is hard. Look, Damien is unbelievable. He can play 10 as well. But yeah, you can't replace him. It is, even at that age, he's self-confident to do things. And the way I know Dobbo, he wouldn't elevate any player. He'll try to make sure that the processes and the structure is in place. But with certain players, things just work. And unfortunately, that's why I'm saying, like, this weekend, the Stormers playing Leinster without the international boys, they just won't be as competitive and that's the sad part. They won't be as competitive without the Springboks. And there is unbelievable talent coming through. But guys like that, you can't play a certain style. It doesn't the move doesn't execute as well with certain players and without certain players.
Well, thanks, guys. I really appreciate all the input.
Great stuff. Thank you. Just final one, guys. Just best of luck to everybody throughout the season. If you need anything from a URC perspective, just drop a line to Shelley, Aoife, and myself. So whether that's a bit of extra access or stats or any kind of resources, give us a shout. And then if you're reporting in South Africa, just as always, please refer to the Vodacom United Rugby Championship or VURC, and in the UK and Ireland and elsewhere, it's the BKT United Rugby Championship. So Darren, Ryan and Schalk, we're going to hold on to you guys just for a quick session with our social media team. Everyone else, thanks very much. And if you need a copy of the recording, just let Shelley and Aoife know. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, all.